Thank you, Myron. So I'm Antoine De Kerviler. I'm CIO of Eurostar, the high-speed train company. We transport about 10 million, well, this year, hopefully 11 million passengers a year. We operate 60 services, approximately a day between Paris, between London, Paris, and Brussels, and also between London, Lyon, Avignon, and Marseille. My point today is why we banned the internal customer. When I joined Eurostar, we had lots of internal customers in the company, and IT was working for internal customers. And so I thought it was interesting to remind ourselves of what is the customer, and I chose a definition which is from Wikipedia, so it's kind of the normal standard definition. And a customer is somebody who receives a good service or product for some monetary or valuable consideration. So that's quite important to remind ourselves. And in the 1930s, Deming and for those of you who worked in quality, the Deming wheel, started working on the concept of the internal customer because they were appalled at the way people were treated in their companies. So employees were badly treated, and they said, well, if we treated these guys as well as our customers, life would be much nicer for them. And I think the parallel, well, should end here. But basically the definition, and again that's from Wikipedia, the definition of the internal customer is a customer who's directly connected to the organization, but it also extends to stakeholders, employees, shareholders, creditors, and external regulators. So your clients now are your external regulators or your creditors. I think the issue is when we do that, without noticing, we move the customer to the periphery. So let's take the example of a website. Website starts when the commercial people in charge of revenue decided that there's a new channel and we need to build a website. And so they went to an IT department, which were one organization in charge of developing and operating something. Then soon the IS department had to split, and the commercial split into several areas, which were clients of each other. So basically, the guys who do the code are clients of the guys who do the infrastructure and operate, who are all looking at their supplier doing service desk. And there's cross-invoicing and so on. And it can be the same in the commercial department. Then you have more structured department and so on. Very quickly, you have some other people coming in. The finance guys, legal, UI, UX, and then you need a PMO. And the worst comes to worst when you need to have a customer advocate. You don't know what the customer is, you don't talk to the customer, don't look at the customer, you have a customer advocate. And that's on purpose. It's not the slide that's too small, it's the customer is out of the picture. What happens then is, in fact, if you have an internal customer, it means that you have one internal supplier. Because if we are IS supplying our internal customer, can our customer look up to several suppliers? Can we have several IS departments in the same company? And you need at least three, because as we all know, the oligopoly is worse than the monopoly. So we need at least three internal suppliers. It just doesn't work. And think of finance. 3 finance departments, what if they don't produce the same accounts? And so one internal supplier will create monopolistic behaviors. Monopolistic behaviors, inferior products, higher prices, but very quickly, because of that, you need to create SLAs, and you need to create SLAs, internal SLAs, just to protect the inefficiencies. An SLA, when you sign an SLA with an external company, with a supplier, it's just a way for that supplier to cap the penalties. So they sign an SLA at 99% availability because they don't want to incur the cost of going to 100%. And you say, okay, 99% is acceptable. Now, would you face a customer and say, well, it's broken today because you are in the 1% of the SLA. So the trains are not running 3.5 days a year because it's the SLA, it's 99%. If you're not a specialist, 99% sounds great. When you understand that it's 3.5 days off, it doesn't sound that great anymore. Very soon, customer is gone. You're centered on your internal processes, centered on your internal SLAs, and everybody in the company looks inside. So you look at your internal suppliers, you look at your internal customers, you look at your internal invoicing, you look at, and so on. Everybody's facing the inside. Customer is outside. Nobody's watching the customer anymore. The enemy is inside. And so everybody is centered around the inside. You can spot these companies, and I used to work for a very large French company, and you can spot these companies where when you go to a meeting with potential customers, and so you're all my potential customers, when you go to meetings like that, you see these people talking to each other. So they're talking about their internal problems, and they have lots of internal problems. That's why the internal customer concept should be banned completely. And that's not to say internal invoicing or recharging system should be banned. It has nothing to do with it. Internal invoicing, the word it's the wrong word, not invoicing, but internal recharge systems, making sure everybody knows the costs of everything is not a bad idea, but it's nothing to do with internal customer. So at Eurostar, internal customers are these people. These are our actual internal customers. Not internal. These are people who are traveling, and we are all focused on serving these people. The same person can show up in different attire during the week and travel in business class and travel in coach with a baby and standard class with a baby during the weekend, but it's the same person and it's the same and it's the customer. One example that's taken during a disruption, and all these people with the yellow jackets are employees, and they're not customer service employees, they're not station employees, they're employees from the office. This guy is our head of strategy. She's in the PR department, and this guy works in IT. They have absolutely no relationship with stations and so on. But when they come back to the office, and you say, well, this is the application we've designed, some of these guys can say, no, we just can't do this. It's not possible. And during that disruption or another one, and we have lots of disruptions like that, if we have trains that are delayed by more than 3 hours, that's what St. Pancras looks like. It's very, very quickly like that. And we have our maillot jaune, so these guys, and all people in the company go to the station. One day after a disruption like that, we've been talking with clients over and over again, and we sat down, and on a napkin, we designed the application that we needed to have to handle the discussion with the client. We had no way of collecting the information from the client. What do you want? So your train's canceled. Sir, what do you want? And people would say, I want a refund. And we're like, how do we capture that information? How can we remember that you see the number of people? How can we remember that these people want a refund and this people wants to travel tomorrow and this people wants to travel the day after? There was no way to remember that. So we've created a very, very simple form with your name, your email address, your PNR, so the ticket reference, and what do you want. And we've put it online. And we've had, so the first day we did that, we were doing it with the guys. So everybody aligned, everybody working together. The first time we did that, we had 5,000 requests in the first 2 hours. Proof that our customers understood what we wanted them to give us for information. We want to get rid of so you know these drawings, of the over-the-fence culture. And very often, because we have no idea that's what the customer asks for, we will build something like that or something like that. And unfortunately, very often, what IT builds looks like something like that because we have no coordination and because we don't know what the customer actually asks for and what the customer wants. And what is good enough is something like this. And so if we work together and if we were all centered on the fact that there's only one customer, we can produce this. We can build an efficient web team. So the web team is like the usual suspects. That's just IT. But then what if this web team was extended to other people, like IS security and service desk and so on, and that team has a variable geometry. That's our web team. So we have meetings with the guys in the pink bubbles, and they are all located in the same floor. They all work together, and they have one objective to increase the conversion rates on the website. So the guy from payment, the guy in DevOps, the architects, the testers, their objective is to increase the conversion rate on the website. The assumption is if you're on the website to look at prices and so on, it's probably because you want to buy something. And if you drop out, it's because our system was not good enough. And then we bring